50 years old. In your words, you've grown 50% over 25 years. So now you're 50% better than you were 25 years ago. If you could look back and say, I would change this 10 years ago, or I would change this 15 years ago, like what would be one or two things you would tell our audience that you wish you knew sooner or learned sooner?
Be mega patient. You got to pay your dues. You have to. I could see my 25-year-old self telling my almost 50-year-old self, oh, no, I think I can go in the woods and figure it out as good as you. It ain't happening. It ain't going to happen. It's just going to take time. Be patient. And to someone that's in their early 20s, even early 30s, that's like, man, if they came and seen the wall, it could humble them a little bit. And they'll go, how did you do this and that? And I'll go, I'd trade this whole wall to be 25 years old. I can't get that back. You're young. Enjoy it. Don't push and start hunting for yourself. Don't get caught up in the idols. Don't get caught up in, man, that's what I want. And don't get caught up in 170, the Booner mark. Just go, like I said, even to you guys tonight at the table, the younger guys, go hunt a South Dakota. You can kill 2. Go hunt in Nebraska. You can kill 2. Go start turkey hunt in Nebraska. You're allowed 3. Go with your bow. Go with your crossbow. Get out there and try. And if you come out of there with 3 jakes because you're allowed 3 turkeys in the spring, go. Just learn. Just start putting holes in stuff and start making mistakes, because that's a process. You're just going to have to live through it.
Lights,
camera,
follow the trail.
ready to shoot.
If you know where a deer's bedding and you know where he's eating, that deer should be dead.
Camera.
If you're passive on a deer, what you're doing is you're teaching them.
I've got 30 bucks in the Michigan record book. Everyone but one has had at least one previous wound on his body. Some had as many as 4.
Trail Cam Radio from the guys at Exodus.
I don't want to pick favorites, but one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. We have Jason Michael here. What's going on?
I'm here. What time is it?
It's past my bedtime. It's 9:45 p.m.
No, we're here. We're alive and well and just enjoying it. Got to see a lot of the show today and was down a little bit.
Yeah.
Crossed paths with you guys yesterday, but just enjoying it.
So, and I guess to premise this too, Jason, we did one at the Iowa Deer Classic the year before that, 2018?
That'd be
18.
Yeah, I believe so.
2018. Really fun conversation. We had people asking us, how do we get in contact with you? Because they wanted to invite you to hunt their farm in Illinois.
That was, I remember him. Yep.
And that is the epitome of who you are.
Yep.
This is a joy to be around, joy to talk to, and someone, every time I get an opportunity to talk with you, I thoroughly enjoy, and this provides a fresh perspective. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Super upbeat, super positive, out to have fun, does a very good job at getting it done, but enjoys himself through the process and does it in a non-traditional way, I would say. Like non-traditional, you know?
Non-braggadocious.
Yep.
Yeah.
You would never know. Okay, so cat's out the bag, went to Kansas. You kind of guided me along your way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it was probably the third night we had dinner, and I kept kind of poking, like, how was your season? How was your season? You're like, you kept kind of pushing it off a little bit.
Yeah, we never really even brought it up. You're like, hey, wait, did you bow hunt in Kansas this year? I'm like, 25 minutes.
Yeah, and then he pulls it out, and oh my gosh, a great deer.
Yep.
Killed it. And that's just, you just are someone that is a consistent, good whitetail hunter. You've done it for decades.
Yep.
You live, breathe the outdoors.
Yep.
You've designed your lifestyle to enjoy it in the full capacity. But I guess we've done enough of an intro. If you want to introduce yourself in any form or fashion, have at it.
Full name, Jason Michael, kind of from Turbotville, Pennsylvania, all my life, born and bred, and done the Air Force and 4 years with that, and kind of used the Air Force actually as a way to get out to the West, the far West, the Utah West, the Colorado West, and ended up being stationed at Hill Air Force Base, Utah. Learned a little bit about some antelope and some mule deer. Tried the elk thing. Super green. Never seen them. But had fun with it, camped with them and lived with them, and came back to my hometown area, Pennsylvania, and did the nuclear power plants, did the normal coal-burning electrical power plants. They call them fossil fuel plants, and just always have found a way still, even in our first podcast, I always said the same thing. Someone said, what's your end goal? And it's just same old. Just do what it takes to be 20 feet above whitetails come November, and that's a rational saying, but October, November, December, and January, and that's pretty much what I've been doing. So I'm 49 now. And I'll be 50 this coming December. I'll be 50, but it'll be my 25th year on the road. So 25 years on the road at 50 years old. That's where I'm at right now, just still chipping away.
Yeah. 25 years on the road hunting whitetails.
What is the road? Like you say the road and everyone kind of gets a different.
Mm-hmm.
What is the,
Yeah. Walk us through what, like,
average year for Jason Michael.
Yes.
Here, a couple of connections I had even at the show today, and some people were like, hey, I've seen you in the past or whatever. What do you do? And just whatever. And you just say hi. And 5 years goes by and you're like, hey, how you doing again? And just talking. And they're like, well, what's up here? You're looking at these broadheads and this and that. And again, they'll say, hey, what's your story? What do you do? And I'll say, look, I'm the worst bow hunter you ever met. I don't kill big deer, and I'm really noisy in the woods. But if I had one statistic to try and tell someone, I guess, self-promote myself with or explain it is, I don't know if even any of the real tree people or the mossy oak people can even think about having as much time off to hunt as I do. So to your question, Chad, when I hit the road, there's times I've left in the end of August and called home from the road and wished my family, mom and dad family, I've never been married, no children, but and wished them Merry Christmas. I'm still on the road. And I've pushed it to the end where, Ohio season goes into, I think this year, like February 4th or whatever. Yeah. I haven't been that yet, but I've ran it till January 17th. One time I took a deer and
that is a long
some
time.
Brutal weather. And then on that hunt, starting with the August hunt, elk, tried to do a little antelope, even did some rifle back in the day. And a lot of that was 15, 16, 17 years ago. It's a 4-month window. It's sometimes a 5-month window. This year I'll start maybe in Maine with whitetails and try and just pop a doe. Got good connections up there. Great people, love to hang out. And it's just a fun time of year and start there. And if I can work it into the schedule, I've always wanted to, I have the connections, but I've always wanted to go to Florida and hunt the peak of the rut. And people are like, the rut? The peak of rut in Florida. It's basically you got to be there the 4th weekend in July.
Yeah, it's obscure.
It's weird. It's just off the radar, but you're hunting 120, 125-inch deer in the right areas, and it's just a place to go to do something different and hunt deer, and then come back home, veg a bit. And if you had the opportunity to get into South Carolina or whatever, they start August 15th. Hit some of these velvet things. Tennessee's got that 3-day velvet season in the end of August, and roll with that, and just keep it simple. Again, we talked about at supper tonight. I'm just the junkyard dog. I go rogue, limited money by choice, and run the chainsaw when I have to. So it's just a broken record for me that I hope it keeps on skipping for about 10 more years anyway.
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
So
well, that's fun. So I guess recap the 2021 season here just a little bit. Obviously, Kansas, you had success.
Yep. Started out in Iowa, and not to drag that out, the super short of it is, had my opportunity, kind of stood up in the stand, faced the tree. I was up a whopping 9 feet, and I faced the tree. It was a pretty sizable tree. It was probably, I bet up there, it was probably 18, 20 inches. And I seen him coming. He come out, hit a scrape, hit him with a snort wheeze. I don't know if I was done 3-4 seconds. He was committed, and the posture in the ears, and he came in. I kind of was going to have to get around the tree to get the shot, and I'm like pulling all the equipment real close to me. I'm like, 30, 35. He's going to be sub 20. And I come around to this side of the tree and just the shift in wind, and he didn't like it. It was probably a mid-50s deer. Could have been a 60 mark. Could have been. Mm-hmm. Stickers on the two, stickers on the brows. Just didn't work out, and the whole 2.5-3 week window I was there, that was my golden opportunity. Didn't work. Went to Ohio for 3 days just to feel it out. I've never hunted the peak of rut. I think I was there the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I think we hit low 70s 2 days in a row and 20-mile-an-hour winds, but I still took a lot away in that 2.5 days, and I definitely know what I'll do different when I go back this time. And then jumped into Kansas, guided my dad and his personal friend for 8 days. They both killed, and the day they left, I jumped in a tree that I jumped in last year and hunted an hour and a half last year, and shot a 154.
He was more cagey, right?
Yeah. Just real cagey. The way the rack come around and stuff, and then a bump off the two and some extra points out on the front of the main beam here. And this year I jumped back into that same tree, and Exodus trail camera took a picture of me at 2:59, and I heard a lot of commotion coming off to my left. I did have a bait station out, but I never had a picture of that deer there. And this season, and I seen him moving fast and a lot of noise, and I couldn't quite catch it. And I looked over, and I'm like, whoa, real quick. And he stopped and committed as a figure of speech before I could finish that snort wheeze. And the deer was dead on camera, right in front of the trail camera at 3:25. I was in the tree 25 minutes. Could have been there 3 weeks and not had that opportunity like Iowa. I was there for 3 weeks and had one shot at the title, and it just didn't work out. And this was the complete opposite in Kansas. Back-to-back years, same tree. Got 2 hours invested in 2 seasons. 14 1/8 inches wide. Just a whopper.
Tight. Wow. Yeah, I remember.
But power.
Yeah.
And,
heavy.
Pushing the high 40s. And we scored him a little bit. And depending on how you did it, 46, 47, right there. And
so typical year you hunt maybe 4 or 5 states?
Yeah, typically. And lately, I guess call it age. Call it just trying to simplify my game down and stick to what I know. I always joke about my area of Kansas. I kind of stay in that southeastern hub. But I wouldn't deem it by any means the trophy area. If I was going to give someone an idea, I'd stick across the top, or maybe even pull over into northeastern Kansas and research some stuff, even for public ground. But it's good. It's not great, but I just invest as much time as I can there. You know,
You've been where you hunted. It's been a long time in that area.
Yep.
Many years.
Yep. Like actually, I got my lifetime hunting license in Kansas when I was in 1997, and that's a whole other
25 years.
Yeah, that's coming up for this year.
Yeah.
So, and that's a whole other story to sit down and break that window down on my take on the industry then, what I didn't know of it, from 10 years ago till present day, because I guess I'm old enough to, this gives dates it for me. We never even heard the word trail cameras, and nobody that was even had money, nobody had a cell phone. It just didn't exist. And we called home collect. You just had to hope they accept the call. It's just, that's the way it was. And had a 2-wheel drive truck, a 5-speed, and just made the most of it. And here I am 25 years later, same region, that same region. Again, I say it's not, to me, I'll be honest, it's not the best area. It's just, I'm really cued in on it. And I know the areas well. And like I was saying, I'm down to 3 states now, and I'm just going to hold tight to the Kansas, the Iowa, and the Ohio. If I get some opportunities in a Missouri or in a Nebraska or in an Illinois as they come up, I'll do them. But those are my 3, and I'll just lock in.
You're like a maturing buck, just shrinking your core range.
Yep, the core eventually becomes the micro core, and then I guess that's what's happening. Good analogy.
Yeah, that's fun. So, anything else for your 2021? Any key takeaways? I mean, obviously, you hunted there in Iowa, and that is the epitome of whitetail hunting, grinding it out for 3 weeks and then not having it come to fruition.
Yep.
And then the other side of it is like, I was in the stand for 25 minutes.
Yeah, and then even over supper, I talked about a window back years ago, because I've been a resident of Iowa for many, many years now, and moved there and made that move.
Yeah,
it's 3 years back to back to back. November 4th, November 4th, November 4th. One was a morning kill, and the other 2 were evening kills, and it just works. I just always was. That's back when I was hunting maybe at 120 or 125. Now those deer that on the 3 kills on the 4th, they were all good deer, and 2 of them were magazine deer. I did some articles for Bow Hunter and some other stuff, but yeah, just locking in those 3 states and just trying to make the most of it and roll with it.
You have anything to jump in?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So you sent over some notes, that's some things you wanted to discuss here today, because I know we talked about recording in Kansas when I was out there, and then we're like, well, we'll all be in Pennsylvania, so let's just record in person then.
Yep.
So something that kind of wanted to discuss here was, this is your note, and I couldn't agree more, and I think a lot of people need to hear it, and it's one simple sentence: maybe you're not as good as you think.
Yeah. And
what does that mean to
even
you?
in the podcast where we had it rocking, like we really had a heck of a podcast.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate, like you say, the batteries went dead, and we just didn't get it laid down. But I even said, just in general, I kind of have 2 examples here, and I know it's getting late, we're getting tired here and stuff, and I've really got to think this through. But I'm pretty good, like on a 4-wheel or a motorcycle. I've always been like, throw me in the cockpit of an F-16 when I was in the Air Force. I was under the wing of them every day, relaying the munitions to them and stuff, and while they're idle, and I was like, man, I could do that. I run chainsaws. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm a pretty edgy, risky, no fears person. Give me 1 month of training in a NASCAR, and then drop me into the Daytona 500. What I admit here at supper tonight, I'm going to get lapped in 3 laps. You might be good at what you do in your hometown at that level, but when you go where the big boys are, you find out maybe you just aren't as good as you are. There's many examples to look at that at. Even in you look at a Drury, or you look at a Lakoski, or you look at a Kitski. I gave another example tonight. If 3 of us bought 100 acres and we went in and food plot it, we mineral site it, we trail camera it, we know what we're doing. We're going to do pretty good. Throw me the keys to Drury's farm, and I'm pretty darn good at what I do. I'm going to run it in the drink in 2 years, because I'm just not that good. I don't know how to run a farm at that level. And a lot of people think, boy, who's there to tell you you're no good? We're all in this together. It's not a competition. We shouldn't try to, everybody's trying to maybe be someone today that they shouldn't be. But at the same time, you can get humbled out there, and it's just like so many people are trying to be at that ultra level, and it just comes down to the guy in the mirror. And sometimes I've told people, just being friendly, maybe you aren't as good as you think you are. Don't quit trying to be that level. Be who you are at your level and progress.
Mm-hmm.
And another little thing I've always, said here lately, if you can, you gotta go. Like you guys are looking to both go to Iowa. Both your time's up. You're probably going to both be going to Iowa this year. You came to Kansas this year. You went to Kansas this year, and come away with a heck of a deer and a lot of memories. But when you look back on it, when you go the next time, you already know you're going to be further ahead than you were the last time. If you come away from each hunt 2 or 3% better every time, after 10 years or 20 years, you're going to be 20%, 30% better.
Absolutely.
From age 20 versus age 30 versus age 40. So just try and break your program down. Look at your hunting abilities with what property you have to work with, and you keep getting better with what you have. So many people are trying to live up to something that they aren't, and it's just they're putting undue pressure on themselves.
Yeah. Tortoise and the hare.
Yep.
Same kind of similar concept. Yep. Yeah. So from 25 to knocking on 50, how many percentage points better do you think you are now? Jump in the 25-year-old body of yourself and mind. You're going to Kansas versus now.
That, I guess to put a number on it, maybe 50% better.
Sure.
I think I've increased. What I can tell you is I'm pretty darn good at walking in the woods and go, and a lot of people would. You're going to walk in and go, here's the creek crossings, and boy, there's a cedar thicket. And, yep, right here. I'm going to be in this tree. It's going to happen here. I'm going to kill him in 3 days. I still will tell you, 90% of what we think we see on our phone and what we're going to go and we have plans, you went on an elk hunt this year. You can perceive what it's going to be like, but when you get there, it's like, and it's just like, it's not what you think. So I guess I'm pretty darn good at what I do with public, and it's not even in today's world. That's a whole other story. What I learned 25 years ago, 10 years ago versus today, it isn't really the deer I'm hunting. It's the parked vehicles. It's the off-season shed hunters. It's the, a lot of the guys on the public ground running trail cameras and stuff. So I'm learning how to out-hunt the other hunter.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, though, I'm just 500 times more patient in a tree. And I hunt, you'll hear Don talk about it and Terry on the Chasing Giants sometimes with their programs. I probably hunt comfortably 50 to 60% less now. I'm still in camp for 3 weeks in Iowa. I hunt 10, 12 sets. I don't hunt every morning and I don't hunt every night. I really don't. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky to be there. I can choose my battles. And I just hunt way smarter. Yeah. Just way smarter, more patient.
My question for that, and this is something I struggle with, I feel, and I want your opinion on this, from the 25-year-old guy, does he need to go make all those mistakes to understand when to be selective and get those reps in those failed hunts?
It's part of the process.
You think it's this
the Wenzel brothers said it best. It has to be earned. Just because you were raised in, let's pick on another state. Just because you were raised in Kentucky and your grandfather's big construction guru and he has a 1,600 acre farm, a real whopper, and you're 20 years old, probably pretty good odds you're going to, start out pretty strong and kill deer that the average guy that's even 30 that travels on public ground is never going to see. Mm-hmm. So, but pound for pound, yeah, it's a process.
You have to
pay your dues. There's just no way around it. And one time, even you said, I think you asked Don, well, why now, Don? Why now are you killing the big bucks that you didn't? Had to pay his dues, and he's perfected his farm. He even said after maybe, I don't want to put words in Don's mouth, but maybe when he said, after 10 years, I'm like, I've done the warm season grasses. I've rotated this. I've done X, Y, and Z. Man, I can't really do much better. And then he found out the next 10 years, he could do better, and he got better and better and better, and he still says, I got room to perfect it even more. And it'll never stop, but you just have to pay your dues, and it's part of the process.
Yeah.
You have to.
Because I think some people hear that, and then they're too patient or tiptoe too much, but they're not to the level where they can capitalize on those key days. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's something that at least that's something I struggle with. It's like, well, how am I supposed to know and be effective on those days if I don't screw up and hunt more often in order to get better?
Yep.
That's something I struggle with.
Yep. Hey, just a couple of years ago, and people say, you're kidding me. 20, even coming up on whatever, it doesn't matter if I'm on the road 40 years. You're going to you got to maybe ask yourself, what's your strengths and what's your weaknesses? And I can tell you for an absolute fact, I'm proud to admit I want to get better at it. I'm not the best early season hunter. I get it. Let's hunt the field edge. Let's do whatever. I'm pretty darn good with a compound bow at 40, 50, 60 yards. I pull back, I hold, I lay into it, and I wait, pop, and it's going to go off, and it's going to be in there. So I know I can intentionally put some of my sets at 30, 35 yards and do those evening hunts, or maybe that cold front the first or second week of October, if one moves through at all at that time frame. But that would be a weakness for me, just to throw an example out. I got to become a better early season hunter. And then the 20th to the 30th of October is its window. The 1st to the 10th is its window. And the 10th through the 20th of November is another window, if you want to really break it down, because you just don't hunt them all the same. And it's just going to take time. It's going to take a lot of mistakes. And, it's kind of like high school football versus college football versus the pros. In all three of those levels, if you're fortunate to make it to the college level, let alone the pro level, even at the highest level, you still have someone go, well, do that drill again. I'm the coach, and actually lucky you're even on second string. You're probably going to be third string. We're going to keep you on the team anyway. And you're going to be our starter now, not him. Could you imagine that in the whitetail bow hunting world? People be everybody's going into it as if they're the NFL.
Yeah, you're right.
All season NFL quarterback.
Everyone's
they aren't even
best.
16 years old. They got a $2,000 bow. Their dad probably gave them a $60,000 jacked up Chevy, and they got all the tools and don't know what to do with it because no one's ever told them. And this isn't a sport of competition. This isn't that. But it's like, gosh, dang, so it's just that kind of a little example to there's no one there in the hunting world to go, hey, you might want to just hold that down, or nope, you didn't make the cut. You can't hunt. We're going to give you South Carolina, North Carolina. You aren't good enough for Kentucky and Illinois yet. I know that sounds weird, but at the same time, there's no one there. There's no shutoff valve, and everybody goes into it half cocked. And at the end of the season, what I mentioned earlier too, take the month of November. And don't ever look at a Facebook, a tweet, or an Instagram. It can be depressing.
Just go dark.
Just go dark 30 on it and hunt for yourself. And in defense of me, as I got older, what you guys learned about me, you brought it up in the last podcast, Chad. You go, the season came and went. It's been 4 months since you popped that deer in Iowa. I used a canoe, went remote.
Your first Boone and Crockett deer.
Yep, first Boone and Crockett deer, 11 2/8 coming out the back.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there at the table and you go,
what?
He goes, did you see the picture? And Jake's like, no, I didn't even know he killed one. 4 months later, we're not tight, but we're close.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel I have it. That's me now at 50. That's another good example.
To give you credit, though, the year before you said you were on the quest to your first Boone and Crockett. Mm-hmm. Next year you kill your first Boone and Crockett.
Killed it.
Do you have any other goals you want to announce on the podcast for next year?
Ooh. Man, I just want to see some new country. I'd like to. I know it's not on someone's bucket list or whatever, but I'd like to maybe get into the Great Plains and get out west a little further myself for whitetail.
Yeah,
I do want to get up into Maine. I just want to meet. My wheelhouse of friends is doing that too, and I just want to be around people that I'm rooting for. I really want to see like you guys do good. You're all still young yet, still excited. Got some ideas we talked about, maybe Nebraska or South Dakota in the future. This could both be your first year ever in Iowa for each of you, for archery especially, or ever. This is huge. So I'm going to be on the sidelines. I'm going, man, I want to report how you doing. I'm pulling for you because I've been there, and this is exciting, and it's huge. So I'm surrounding myself with a good group of people. I've got about 12, 15 people out there in the country I keep in touch with. And I think I joked the other day, I said, oh my word. And I had to look at it again. I said, I think I'm up. I got 23 people following me on Instagram. I joked to someone, I said, dude, I'm up to 23 now. And that's okay, because those 23 people love me and I love them 10 times more back. And I want to follow them and keep in touch with them and surround myself with a good group of people, because what we say today, The rest of the world, I don't mean to be crude on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give a rat's ass.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do something good, you're getting 6 seconds of their time, and it's a thumb swipe away, and they'll never see you again. And the sad part of it is they actually know you. And some people, it's tough for them, even though they aren't close to you, they still may know you enough to have your number in their phone, and they see the success you may have had. Like 2 years ago, I know your story enough. You killed like an 8 or 9 year old deer or a 10-year-old deer.
Yeah, a couple years, 3 years ago.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
really old deer. And
Yeah.
a lot of people have killed a pile of 160s, but they haven't killed a 9 or a 10-year-old deer like that. You know what I mean? So that's something like, whoa, dude, you did something. Give somebody an attaboy. Look them up. Go out of your way. Hey, remember me at the show? I know we haven't been in touch much, but just wanted to let someone know you care. Just be that good, genuine person, and find that group of people and stick with them. Because, again, Chad, you brought it up years ago. Nobody really gives a flying flip about, if anything, it kills them to congratulate you. And that's a bad quality to have.
Sure.
Yeah. So Great Plains states, no other. I just think that's so cool because in 2018, like I said, we're sitting there at the table. I remember it, and you're like, "Oh, I want to kill a Boone and Crockett deer." And then to me, I was completely oblivious. And then to find out that you did that a year after, that was really cool. Really, really.
And
cool
just
to
didn't
see.
talk about it. And even that year, I killed a boomer in Wisconsin on a do-it-yourself. That was private ground, but I was on it myself. A group of us, we picked our areas and got to go up by Prairie du Chien. We were across there, the river from Iowa, and then broke 160 in Kansas.
So 2 booners and a 160.
North of 160, and a booner, a low, almost a 172 in 3 weeks. And never said a word. And if anybody cared to look up, I think it's Jason Michael 803 on Instagram. I do not have one picture of one deer on my wall or anything. I think I'm going to do it.
Sent them to me. I think it was probably December, Thanksgiving-ish.
Yeah,
December.
Because I was getting excited about potentially whitetail cribs, and I'm like, well, how can we do this? Because I don't have a house. I don't I can. I'm at home with mom and dad at different times, and I'm like, Chad, what are we going to do? I don't have a house.
Yep.
Almost felt like embarrassed a little bit, but you're like, I said, we can hang them on the tree. You go, that sounds great because that's who you are and that's part of your story.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now they're all in a truck dealership, Mark Martin Motors down in Ephrata, Pennsylvania. The walls, I didn't even realize it. For 20 years, I had mounts and skulls, and we put them up, and I think maybe like 32 P&Ys. And a pile of them over 150 that I never even thought about. And there's the wall plastered.
That's cool.
And I'm like, and there's Jake, like,
That's funny.
You're crazy, Harry. You're crazy, Jason.
Yeah. No, you're not, I mean, you're just Jason.
Yeah.
You're just who you are. So do you really think if Drury or whoever gave you the keys to that 100-acre farm?
Yep. Or even their property that they've perfected for 10 years.
Sure.
Throw me the keys and they leave and I get to take it over for the next 3 years.
You think it's going to be worse?
It'd be hard for me to do it because they're just so good at what they do. Again, I know they're fortunate. People say, yeah, because here's where I'm going with this. I'm glad you brought that up. How many people go, yeah, well, if I had 2,000 acres to hunt, I'd be killing deer like that too.
Everyone, for the record, I think is
Be careful.
Yeah.
Be cautious. And that's where it comes back to. You may not be as good as you think you are. When I throw you the keys to that NASCAR, and we all know there's some badasses out there and some tough dudes, they won't even get considered to get in the preliminary fights before they even get to the actual octagon because they're not that good. And that kills a guy with that instinct to be a little tough to go, you ain't going to do it. He'll throw you around. They'll look at you. They'll like want to start fighting you because you said that to them because they can't handle it. You're just not that good. And at the end of the day, it's okay. Let it go, especially in the deer hunting world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably sink the ship at Drury's farm because they're so good at what they do, and I give them credit.
Do you think that just goes along, for instance, that they've done it for decades and they have that farm tuned in? They know when to plant X, Y, Z. They know when to hunt whatever stand. They know when to stay out. And you would go in there not knowing all those intricate secrets, or not secrets, but I guess nuances to the farm.
Yep.
And
I'd have to start all over, and I'd jar things up. I mean, I wouldn't overhunt it. I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't go into the interiors. We'd do all the things we're supposed to do as good little bow hunters that we are all pretty good at right now, but the ball wouldn't roll the same.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't.
You have any comment to that? Do you think Chad thinks he could do it? That's the thing.
I don't know. So I guess the perspective on like ruining the farm, like if the foundation.
Let's say it's at
plan is-
110%.
I see where you're
already
going.
there,
I don't
it's
think
like-
we would ruin it.
Diminish.
Yeah.
Yeah, like could I do what they do every single year? I don't. Probably not, because I'm not as good as I think I am.
But you
Like,
would after a matter of years on that
Yeah,
farm and
I
getting
would
better
think
with
I
it, better.
would
5
figure it
years,
out.
4 years.
Yeah.
But that's where the 25-year-old Jason differs from the 50-year-old Jason. I can look at myself from 5 years ago till now. Now, this might sound a little silly, or I'm maybe downplaying myself a little. I'm not going to get any better from 50 to 60 like I did from 20 to 50. It's over.
Yeah.
I know my abilities. I don't feel I have to be on the road as much. I don't feel I have to go after it as much. And I just want to, again, surround myself with a good circle of people. And I am going to kill less deer, but better deer. That's my goal from age 50 to 60. I'm going to take advantage of the muzzleloader seasons, and I'm going to try and be more consistent on 160 north deer. Even if it meant killing one deer every other year. You know, I think it was 2015. I may be off a year. I busted 5 over 140 and backed out on number 6, and it was a 143 from Indiana. The kid goes, I said, I can't kill that deer, Bill. And it was Bill Sycophus and Racks and Tracks Outfitters, and I was hanging out with him when he was just getting started by his first year or two. And he went the next morning and killed it. And I was going to sit in that little 12-foot ladder stand. And chances are I was on a roll, I was going to pop him. That's 6 over 140. You know, and I had 3 of them were over 150. One was a 24, 25-inch spread 10-point with a 10.25-inch brow tine in Iowa. Hunted one evening. It just happened. It's just one of those years that happened. But here's the truth that people don't see that I'm not afraid to admit or tell. The next year I went from 5 states back down to 3 states and hunted hard. Never picked the bow up to even think because he's moving my way on a 3.5-year-old. Never picked the bow up the whole season for a whole 3-month window, if that's what you want to call it. Just the complete opposite. I applied the same rules, the same set of skills. It just didn't work out. And that was kind of one of those things I just say, welcome to public land hunting. It just happened. Like you said today, if you got ghosted, admit it. It happens.
Right.
And no one knows that, but that's what actually happened. I'm proud to tell. That's just part of the game.
Yeah.
So I went from being a rock star to getting humbled terribly.
Whitetails seem to have a way to do that.
Oh.
Yeah, they really do. Okay, so let's see. I'm just looking through here. All right, let's. We talked a little bit about. I actually asked this question to Greg Litzinger. He's been on the podcast before, and I asked him, "You have 3 years to design your ideal whitetail journey, meaning you have 3 years to shoot a mature buck. You can only, of those 3 years though, you can only pick 5 days to hunt. So that means basically you pick the state." You got something to say? I'm pulling it up here. You have 3 years to pick the ideal journey. So that means you have the time to put in for points, postseason scout, trail camera, long-term trail camera strategy, and you have to pick the state. So where are you going? I should have had that prompt in front of me.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So do I get to pick one state and hunt it for 5 days a year?
No,
Or
it's
can I
5
pick
days.
multiple?
So you have a hunt
Okay.
3 years from now. So from today, you have
2025.
3 years to plan, scout, run trail cameras to hunt in 2025. What state are you going to go to, and what 5 days is that window of opportunity going to be in?
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. And you don't got me stumped there because I will answer that question after I give you a question I've been prompted with along those same lines. Someone said, if you had X amount of dollars and you could go kill a Boone or Crockett or 2, and someone said, where would you go for the shortest amount of time to kill a bona fide 170 for the money? I would get in with and research and get to know 5, 6, 7 of the 30 that are there. There's probably 70 or 80 of them, and you would think that, but there is. If you can get on a velvet buck over bait in Kentucky September 2nd or 3rd for that opener and get to know those outfitters or get in with a lease or get in on a piece of ground, you can kill giant deer in Kentucky. They do it every year. That would be a key place to go with your bow or the guys that crossbow hunt, whatever they do there, if you're going to travel in. So Kentucky, super, super mega early season velvet opener. The other one, I don't want to mention them. They probably would like me to, but I'm not going to. If you took a 5-day inline muzzleloader season hunt and you hunted like the second or third or fourth full week of December, if you could pick your battles and go in there for that 5-day window and get on the right piece of ground. I know an outfitter, they really don't put you in a box hut on their 100,000 acres in Nebraska unless it's 160, but you're trying to kill 170s and 180s every night you go out. They'll take like 5 hunters a year. Now it costs a couple bucks. Right there would be your 2 booners. That could be very possible for 10 days of hunting in 1 year. Straight up. I probably, if someone said, yeah, but what about if you had to go strict public? Let's get back to the reality of the real guy that's probably listening to this podcast. Even though there's some great landowners out there that listen to this stuff and they have their property where they want it and been working on it, and that's their hobby, and man, that's fantastic. God bless them. But if someone said you got, in 3 years from now, you're going to go hunt for 5 days, Iowa, public ground, backup would be Kansas, public ground. But my 5 days for Iowa would be the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th of November. And if someone said, I'd even go out on a limb and tell you I'm going to do it in the evening. I could get on them in the morning, but I would tell you I'm going to sleep it every day, and I'll kill that deer in the evening. And it won't be a 130, and it probably won't be a 140. We're going to hunt. If someone said to go somewhere to get on the best deer possible, and let's give some hope to the listener. Let's take Iowa out of the equation. Let's eliminate the long wait for the long draw. And Chad, we talked about this. We're letting some little cats out of the bag. I'd probably say, and again, it just does not get talked about. I would go key in on Eastern Central or Northern Central, Northeastern, that belt loop right there of Nebraska. And I will, you guys, when this is over, and your buddies are going to be texting you, hey, what did he tell you? Where's that spot to use the canoeing in South Dakota? And people go, you'll just never, ever, ever believe the 140 and 150 inch deer that you'd kill the week of Halloween in South Dakota. And nobody's talking about it. And I hope someday somebody goes there and kills one and said, hey, I did that. 2-3 years later, I went and gave that a try. I could promote it till I'm blue in the face, put a booth up at the show saying, hey, this is just free information. I'm not selling a hunt. You need to all go hunt, and promote it for years. And still a lot of people aren't going to go there because they're still hung up on what TV says and what you got to do. South Dakota, there's opportunities. I think you get in the right areas. It is getting hunted. I'd tell you early season, September 1, you see TV, velvet, North Dakota. Yeah. That's getting punched pretty good. But yeah, Kentucky's hot. Ohio would be hot. The right areas of Tennessee are a little bit of a sleeper. It just doesn't get talked about much. The right areas of Missouri, because they come in September 15th. If you can get into the right areas of Missouri, that's their opener, I believe, is September 15th. But pound for pound, yeah, I'd probably bounce around Iowa. It's like you mentioned it the other day. It's undoubtedly the Holy Grail, and they protect it, and it is what it is. But
so Iowa, year 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yep.
Well,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We were having dinner, and I was like, "Do you have any words of advice?" Sitting at 4 points, he's sitting at 3 points for Iowa.
Yep.
And you said no, but then
I was messing with you. Do you have any advice? Because we pretty much know everything about Iowa, what we kind of want to do, and it's the place to be.
But you had interesting insight about the full moon and November 8th. Do you want to talk about that?
Just looking ahead, like different people that are really gung-ho, or just whatever, I'll bounce some kids getting a little puffy, and a bunch of 19-year-olds sitting around, 23-year-olds sitting around, good kids having fun will go, hey, when is the full moon this coming year? It's just silence. So this year it's going to be November 8th. And not that the rut's going to come in November 5th, or the rut's going to come in November 15th because of that moon, because that's just not the case, and that's Mother Nature won't do that to that doe to have that fawn drop then for that area, if it's Canada or Montana or versus Arkansas or Louisiana. They're going to be born when they're supposed to be born for that area, but that's mostly a northern deer thing, Illinois, Iowa, and up. Upper Peninsula, New York State, Mass, Connecticut. So those deer, everything's pretty much in that window. The true hard, what I'm going to call the hard rut, the mega lockdown. And I'm following this off of what the Wenzels said years ago in their book. It's the 10th through the 17th of November. Yeah, but I watched a buck mount a doe and breed her November 3rd. And the other guy goes, that's nothing. I watched it on Halloween day. Juries have them mounting the does and breed them. Absolutely. They're bred October 20th every year, somewhere. That 1 or 2%. And yeah, they're bred December 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in December. 1, 2, 3, 4%. It's going to happen. But that bell curve, the mega, it isn't the 2nd or 3rd or 4th of November. It is not. Someone goes, I don't know about that. I'll stand my ground with that one. It's that window. It starts getting strong. 8th, 9th, maybe, starts getting strong. And then the 10th through the 17th. But for the full moon coming up for this 2022 hunt, if I had to throw out some excitement, some motivation, give you a little food for thought, the full moon's November 8th, the day before, the day of, and the day after that full moon is obviously the brightest it's going to be. So what that full moon does, old theory, grandpappy talking, or these modern day hunters that are trying to really follow this, it brings that deer back in to his bedroom. Maybe even at 4 or 5 in the morning, maybe 6, 7. You know, sometimes we're out in our stands and we're like, man, the feed is late this morning. The deer, it's 8 o'clock and they're still, I'm seeing multiple groups starting to filter back into their bedroom. And that's just that morning, and that's when the feed times are. But that full moon should push them back in early. Should, usually does. And then by 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock is a super magnum strong window. I get the 10 to 2, and guys, nope, I don't hunt mornings, I don't hunt evenings. I climb in my stand 10 o'clock and I get out at 2:30 during the peak. If that's your strategy and that's what you believe in, go ahead. But I'd just rather be there shortly after daybreak. I don't get in my stand and sit there for an hour in the morning during the peak rut, because that's the question you asked about November 8th and the full moon. I get in there, I really don't even need a flashlight. Or I'm parking my canoe and I'm like, ugh, I probably should be in my tree. Happens to me a lot. And then I usually, I'm of the impression I'll hunt from first light, and about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, I'll get out of the tree. And that's my rut hunt for the day. I won't beat myself up, but I'll watch the feed times and see what's going on. And there's times I'm like, I'm sleeping in the next 4 days in a row. A lot of that strong feeding time on those feed tables, and just when deer are feeding, has nothing to do with the rut, just feeding tables, is 2 o'clock. And as the days go by, the next day, it's 45 minutes off every day later. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I'll hunt from noon till dark. And I'll just kind of strategize around that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that full moon's going to push them in early, and set all day if you can. Log hours. And then when the full moon starts to go downhill, that's like I was saying, like that roller coaster, you're at the hump, it's full moon, we're starting to go down the other side, and up goes the arms and everybody's screaming. And that's kind of that. You'll hear people refer to like going into that third quarter, going down mood phase, and that should be pretty strong your days. So like 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, as far as deer being on their feet during daytime.
Yeah, the holy grail of states and time. Mm-hmm. So that's okay. So I guess we kind of have jumped around this a little bit, but I guess if you had to summarize it in just a couple sentences, what is your favorite state to deer hunt and why?
Again, I get it why everybody maybe says the Iowa thing. It's been awesome. If I had to leave it tomorrow, it wouldn't be the end of whatever. I'm still going to go deer hunting. I'm going to enjoy myself. But I'm going to tell you, I've had some of my best hunts and my most fun, and why I really hit the road running when I was in my early 20s after I got out of the Air Force. I'm just going to stick with my roots and tell you Kansas.
Yeah.
And I like the middle of the month myself. For me, you know, Chad was up in the northern tier and up, and I'm way down by Oklahoma. I can be in Oklahoma in 16, 18 minutes down there in the bottom. And it's a different game from that Oklahoma border to versus what you want to call even southern Nebraska. There's a different window there, you know, by a couple days, and the way it rules, and temperature dictates a lot of that, and weather. But You know what? I'm going to say Kansas.
Kansas
That'd be
is
my
your favorite?
go-to state. I love to have fun there. Yeah, baiting's legal. I don't bait that much. I might do it to find a buck, but you'd be surprised how much we just don't set over bait. We just don't really do it. I just go hunt, and I've got so many years there that I can't afford not to be there now. I'm going to start going up by Manhattan, and I'm going to go up even further up on the Nebraska line this coming year and spend some time. But I've just got it, for me, in my own words, I've got it so dialed in the last 25 years that it's pretty bulletproof. I know where to go and what to do and how to help some friends out. You know, you come in this year,
Yeah.
we had some opportunities, we had a good hunt, and
Yep.
and it's just real workable for me.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you run trail cameras in a lot of locations. I mean, all the different states you hunt. For someone that would want to emulate what you do, how many trail cameras do you think someone needs?
You know, so and you're right, but I'm going to tell you, I don't own 40 trail cameras, to give someone an idea. And even when I was hunting 5 states, I didn't have trail cameras in 5 states. I just kind of went rogue and set up and just made it work. But I would tell you, I pushed the limit where I'm at in my region of Ohio this year. Man, I thought I was on fire, and I had 6 out. I was like, man, we're really covering it now. And, you know, I just had one key buck that I had on just about every camera, one particular deer. And we're going to try and find his sheds here within the next few weeks and try and get after him this fall. But I do run mineral sites in Iowa, several, and I do run mineral sites in Kansas. And I probably have 2 or 3 in Kansas, and I probably have 5 or 6 in Iowa that you know that are there soaking all summer long, working for me, and everything's good to go. And
Chad had something to chime in with.
yeah, to chime in there. That's all good. And but yeah, you know, I don't know what I'd do if you said, I'm giving you these 3 states and I'm giving you 20 trail cameras for each state. I couldn't do it myself.
No?
That's just me. I don't think I could do it. And in defense of what you said, I wouldn't say defense, but I don't know if it was back this summer or this spring in your podcast. So your own people asked you, the owner of the company.
Yeah.
Man, how are you, though, with these cellular cameras? You go, you know what? I'm still a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I use them. I sell them for my livelihood, but I still like the idea of setting a card and going and checking the daggone camera and pulling a card out and doing a card pull.
Yeah.
And they have their place. I get that. And you guys have educated a lot of people on that. But how do you feel about that? Like,
well, I think a lot of it too comes back to areas that I like to hunt just don't have cellular service.
sure.
But from a long-term perspective, I think that there is more to gain from long-term trail camera sets than
Let them
what
soak.
people want to talk about MRI. MRI has its place, too. But to me, it's built off of long-term data. What deer we're doing the following year, trying to figure places out where you may not have time to scout in season. So let the trail cameras do the work. You pull your intel at the end of the year. You see where those windows of opportunity are, and then you can count, for that following year, relatively when those windows are, all the variables remain the same. And then you can use the most recent information to tell you when to hunt or where to hunt based off the long-term stuff. So I think more often than not, the one mistake people make with trail cameras is checking them too frequently. And cell cameras solve that problem. They scratch the itch for a lot of people.
100%.
But they're at the same point in time, you just don't go out and hang a cell camera and kill a big deer the next day either. I mean, as powerful as they are, there's still a lot more to it than just going out and hanging a cell camera and saying, all right, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, he's dead in the water. Like, it just does not work that way.
So for my sake, even where I'm at down in Ohio, I've got 2 years of running cameras down there, and I have one particular buck this year that I have on camera. Then the other 3 ones in that wood lot with him that are other good deer put together. Just that one deer, and he's actually on 4 of those 6 cameras, and the core, almost micro core, that one camera is some of the best trail cam pictures I've ever got.
Yeah.
And they're all the 27th, 29th, and 30th of October.
Yeah.
and the sunlight is on him. I do not have one nighttime picture of him, which is telling me must be an unpressured area. Cameras have been soaking for 2 years. This year coming up, should depending on how I jockey my time in Iowa to get into Ohio, cameras don't lie.
Right.
They're like a little kid. They don't know how to lie yet. So it told me everything I need to go. So I have high hopes. Will it work? Don't know.
Sure.
But the odds are more in my favor because the cameras led me in the right direction.
Yep. 100%.
I've asked a lot of questions. You got one?
So 50 years old, you've grown, in your words, you've grown 50% over 25 years. So now you're 50% better than you were 25 years ago. If you could look back and say, I would change this 10 years ago, or I would change this 15 years ago, like what would be one or two things you would tell our audience that you wish you knew sooner or learned sooner?
I can honestly tell you when I was 25 years ago, I did not pay attention to the wind. We just were rogue. We were out of control. I had Kansas at my fingertips.
Yeah.
I had a 3,000-acre ranch I paid $250 to be on. That included the house with heat. Remember me telling you about I had no running water.
Oh, yeah.
It was a rat's nest, but they did have that oil furnace thing on the wall, and there was no human life out there. Again, I didn't know I didn't know what I had. None of us knew what we had then. We didn't know the push would be on like this, and the licenses would quadruple. One thing I can't say. I mean, I've just been super, super, super good at creating relationships with landowners. And I tell them, I don't want to hunt your ground. I'd like to just be around here and help. And I wasn't just saying that. Some of them it took getting to know someone to advance me onto some other grounds and just help and work. But, I mean, I'd love to tell myself, man, maybe even be more aggressive with that. Just door knock more. What would you call that? Them relations, create those relationships.
Like more networking.
More networking. You'll never be able to network enough. And stop and door knock. I can tell someone this when it comes to asking permission, like when you guys went out to turkey hunt in Kansas this spring. You were going to turkey hunt and have some fun, but you were ultimately using turkey hunting as a tool to prepare for bow hunting 100%. This fall. When the sun is about ready to set is when you should be pulling in to door knock. The farmer's done for the day. You could catch the right guy on his tractor at noon high and he'd stop, put in gear. Yeah, you know what? I'm busy now. Maybe stop by. When it is all said and done and they're dragging at the end of the day and they're coming in to set on their porch, and hopefully you don't catch them at the supper table, but if you can catch them right there in that window and just go in and door knock right at the last bit of evening, you're going to get more of their time. Even if it's a no, it's going to be a nice no compared to a good short, quick, whatever. So that, I guess that shouldn't be a tough one, but and not that I did it right. I just be mega patient. You got to pay your dues. You have to. What's the guy on Instagram or the things that David Goggins?
Yeah.
Everybody wants the product, but nobody wants to pay the price.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I would even look back. I could see my 25-year-old self telling my almost 50-year-old self, "Oh no, I think I can go in the woods and figure it out as good as you." It ain't happening. It ain't going to happen. It's just going to take time. Yeah. Be patient. And to someone that's in their early 20s, even early 30s, that's like, man, if they came and seen the wall, it could humble them a little bit. And they'll go, how did you do this, and that? And I'll go, I'd trade this whole wall to be 25 years old. I can't get that back. You're young. Enjoy it. Don't push. And start hunting for yourself. Don't get caught up in the idols. Don't get caught up in, man, that's what I want. And don't get caught up in 170, the Booner mark. Just go, like I said, even to you guys tonight at the table, the younger guys. Go hunt a South Dakota, you can kill 2. Go hunt a Nebraska, you can kill 2. Go start turkey hunt in Nebraska, you're allowed 3. Go with your bow, go with your crossbow. Get out there and try. And if you come out of there with 3 jakes because you're allowed 3 turkeys in the spring, go, just learn, start putting holes in stuff and start making mistakes, because that's a process. You're just going to have to live through it.
What about, so just this evening, you've mentioned Barry and Gene Wetzel multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Are they the all-time, like in your opinion or your eyes, like where do they rank in the all-time greats?
As far as just going in the woods and hunting to hunt and enjoying the moment, and I have to say that again, they just enjoyed doing it every day, loved it. There was no, hey, I got a buck today, or in Montana on the deer drive, if they had the multiple tags or whatever. Yep, we got two 15-inch spread 8-points on those deer drives. You know, they whacked them with their recurves running through the woods, and that was their hunt. That's who they were. And I guess just to sum it up, they just did it right. They dressed comical. They laughed. And I think they're just a good, I hate to use the word idol, I guess, but just someone to really look up to. They were just cool dudes.
Yep.
No egos, no over-the-top face paint, no over-the-top clothing, not worried about the lift. You never seen a lifted truck. You never seen over stickers. I don't even know what they drove. It didn't matter. All their footage was of them in the woods living the moment. You don't see that today too much. Everything's a flash. Everything's a promotion. Everything's an advertisement. And we grow with that. That's all our eyes see, so that's all we know. And it's cool. And I don't know where it's going to be 10, 15 years from now. I'm not sitting here and saying I don't want to know either. I think it's all going to be, you just roll with the punches. But those guys did it right. They just did it right. That's all I can really say about it.
Sure. I know we've had the chance to talk to him a couple times at, was it Barry? Or
Yeah.
Jane? Which one have we talked
I get
to?
them mixed up too. Here at the show 2
I
years
could
ago.
check my email.
Well, yeah, they've been at just different trade shows.
Sure.
I've had the opportunity, and like you said, they're just like they remind me of a Santa Claus. Just
Sure.
jolly,
Yeah.
kind of red-faced, happy.
Harmless. Harmless.
Yep. Just down to earth, good guys, good people. I think that's all I got, man. I don't think I have anything off the top of my head. If there's something else that you guys want to touch on, or
I mean, maybe you can comment to this. Not really a question, but it's something I've noticed. A lot of these people that have gone through maybe that whitetail journey, that whitetail road for decades, and if they don't do it for the right reason, it seems like the end of that road is very lonely.
It is.
Meaning,
Yep.
like, you just did that for what?
Mhm.
Do you have any comment from that, or have you seen anyone, or have you seen that same that same, I guess, progression where they do this forever?
I'm just going to pick a state out, use it as an example. There are, and a question you guys have brought up over the years. Hey, what state probably has the best bow hunters in? Or what state probably has, you're just kind of having some fun
Yeah.
with the country? There is some, what you call above average, good bow hunters all over the flipping country right now. You don't hear much about like maybe Texas or, in terms of whitetail, they've got them, some great stuff down there. But let me just use one state as an example, because there is some killer hunters in Georgia, South Carolina, in that region. Killer hunters. For them to go out and be consistent on public ground in Georgia, or some leases that a group of them have, or if they're in a hunt club where a lot of guys are hunting on that many thousands of acres, and they're pretty darn consistent at punching 115, 120-inch deer every year. That's the key word for me. Take my booner. I'm just using this as, I'm trying to be nice with myself. Throw it in the garbage. Get rid of your biggest buck and get rid of your smallest buck. Now that starts to narrow us down to our average. What's your average? I've challenged myself. I've based myself off of how consistent I can be with a certain window, an average. And yeah, I'm not even going to use the number, what a score would be for me. A benchmark, maybe, to try and hit every year and be consistent every year, getting it done consistently.
Just because you want to do that.
Yeah. How I would, what I hold myself
Yeah.
accountable for, what my goals are, my personal goals. I don't own private ground in Illinois. I don't own 800 acres in Missouri that only 2 of us bow hunt every year. So I can't compete with that. I just can't do it. Take South Carolina. You punch 115, 120-inch deer every year with a bow, and they're allowed multiple bucks a year. That guy's doing something. He's a darn good bow hunter to be able to pull that off. And he's as good as anybody that lives in Kansas, that his average every year is 145.
Yep.
140, maybe even 135, 140 on public ground consistently every year. And so it's relative to your area. And look at my, former home state, Pennsylvania. it may sound biased. There are some awesome dudes over there that are just, many of them, above average. You don't want to try them at 60, 70 yards with your bow. You just don't want to go around calling people out. They're very good at what they do. They're very good with a turkey call. They're good predator hunters. I mean, they're just good that, they have those critters to hunt like that. And they're consistent on 20-inch spread 8 points at score, maybe 130. Every year they're getting into deer like that. It's not easy to do in Pennsylvania, but they're doing it. And they're just good at what they do in their area, and they're consistent, good hunters. They're just not fly-by-night, get lucky once in a while. I could hunt Pennsylvania and shoot 160-inch deer on public ground and then go 8 years and not kill a deer. Mm-hmm. That's a piss-poor average. In fact, to be honest with you, it's almost pathetic. But a guy that keeps killing 125s and maybe a 130 once in a while and gets lucky with a 140, and he's back to each average of high 120s, low 130s, he's killing it. He's knocking it out of the park. That's a great dude. That's a good bow hunter, and that's just all there is to say about it. That's all he has to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm tired.
Well, let's get this thing. We'll get this thing wrapped up. If you had, I guess, offer our listeners some parting words, and then if they wanted to follow along in any of your 2022 journeys, where could they?
I'm going to be a little more active, a little more aggressive. I like to put my little twist on mineral sites or licking branches and some of the stuff. I do some stuff with Smokey's deer lure, and I'm going to get into that more in June and July. Do the licking branch, try and create some activity and get some inventory that way with the cameras. Again, it's Jason Michael 803, I believe, or just whatever on Instagram.
I'll look that up.
And I'm going to get into more of doing videos, selfies. They lock you in time.
Yep.
They don't say a lot.
Yep.
You can see the background. I can create a story. Maybe if I had a deer, which I don't do that, but I'm going to do that a little more. And I got that wall down in close to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm going to maybe post that and share some of that stuff and see how that goes. But
I want to see that 24-inch wide deer from Iowa.
Yeah.
10-inch brow tines.
Yep. And just, share some of my opinions and stuff and do more videos. I got some on there now, doing some food plots and spraying remote in the mountains and going remote with gallon jugs and just trying to stay active. And I guess just my main goal and wish for everybody out there, and again, especially the group that's coming up in that 20s and into that early 30s, hunt for yourself. If you have to, put the phone down, pick your choice 2 or 3 people to hang out with. If it's a group of 5 or 6 of you, your little hunt clubs and stuff, or who you get together on Wednesday nights like we do a lot and shoot with your gang. Just keep that close circle of friends, hunt for yourself, and just keep getting better. Just keep getting better. If you see yourself getting better, that's all that matters, and just have as much fun with it as you can, and just don't let the pressures of everything else out there get to you, because you have as much right to be there as everybody else, and honestly, you're just as good as them. Just believe in yourself and give yourself a chance.
Right on. Yeah. It's always good to catch up. Excited to follow along the year and stay in touch, and going to buy my Kansas point, and 2023 will be redemption. I'll just leave it at that.
We'll do it all again, and we will have fun.
Yeah, definitely.